being overly aggressive, talking about sex and the way you like it, and men are disposable the same way men treat women as disposable. I get it, but that consequence for women, I think, is starting to those chickens are coming home to roost in a lot of ways, right? The Crucial Convo podcast. You could be anywhere if you're on this channel. Thank you for tuning in. To the Crucial Convo podcast. All right, welcome back to the channel. You're tuned in with your host, Kojo. We got to talk a little bit about Meg the Stallion and Klay Thompson, right? I don't think people are really invested so much in their relationship. Yeah, there are scores of people who follow every celebrity relationship and they kind of live their lives by whether people stay together or break up. But I think there's more going on here. I think that this relationship brings out the conversation about this issue between men and women. What issue are we talking about? How women carry themselves and how that leaks into their real life when they're, especially when you're talking about a celebrity, particularly female rappers. How female rappers have evolved over the last 20 to 30 years, the things they talk about, the way they carry themselves, does that seep into their real life, right? Is it just entertainment, and should they be able to just live their lives and find love and live happily ever after with a husband? Does that make sense? Most people are kind of saying, look, we're not surprised. The whole hot girl summer, the whole hot girl movement isn't really conducive to getting married. That's what everybody's saying, right? I think there's some truth to that. And then you also have the fact of, we're not surprised. You're talking about a basketball player, Klay Thompson, 6'7", tall, attractive by most women's accounts, right? He has a lot of options, $300-400 million man. He got a million options. Was he actually going to be faithful to a woman, let alone Meg the Stallion, right? So all these things are in the atmosphere, the internet streets. So look, at the end of the day, everybody has a dating history. Everybody does. And how it's framed and how it's looked at. Look, at the end of the day, especially for black women, you're not going to get the same graces like a Kim Kardashian or somebody else. I acknowledge that. But I want to bring this to a conversation in the sense of, what would you tell your daughter? I always say on this channel, the conversations or the advice that I think about when I talk to women I care about or love, I say, man, what am I going to tell my daughter? My daughter is not of dating age, but what are the conversations I'm going to have with my daughter? Let's go back a little bit for a minute. I want to go back to a video because this video here, this is about Felicia Rashad, right? Felicia Rashad, is an older woman now, my mom's age, you know what I'm saying? But she was a baddie back in the day. She's one of those women that most guys would agree it was fine, right? Claire Huxtable. Now, she said something about a year ago on The Breakfast Club, and the young women ate her alive for this. But I want to play this clip real quick because it kind of sets the stage for what I want to talk about here.
You'd have to look at Hollywood. I could look at the way young ladies dress. Mm-hmm. The young ladies are so beautiful. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean to be critical, and I hope young ladies listening don't take this as personal criticism, because I don't mean it that way. Mm-hmm. But you're young queens. I'm taken aback when I see on a college campus young women dressed in strips of clothing. Mm-hmm. But more importantly than that, no man wants his woman to be out like that.
Felicia Rashad got ate up on the internet, mainly obviously by women, because they were like, look, you don't need to be telling women how they need to be dressed, and women don't need to be, placating to any man. And if men don't like it, it is what it is. And I think that's the whole conversation. We're having this conversation, but I think there's a duality with men and women. So the women's duality is like, yes, you can wear whatever you want. You can talk about whatever you want, especially if you're an entertainer and it's all good, the hot girl summer, and you're like dealing with dudes the way dudes deal with women and being overly aggressive, talking about sex and the way you like it, and men are disposable the same way men treat women as disposable. I get it. But that consequence for women, I think, is starting to those chickens are coming home to roost in a lot of ways, right? With Meg the Stallion, everybody's real, invested in it. So when you look at Meg Thee Stallion, I mean, she's been out as a rapper, at least on the scene for a while now. And she's part of the new, I would say the newest class of female rappers. You know, you have the Sexy Reds, the Ice Spices, the Glorillas and all that. It's that whole stripper rapper thing, you know what I'm saying? The WAP, the famous WAP song. When you go to look at Meg Thee Stallion, her music doesn't seep into her real life, right? Making a nice little meal. Who knows why Klay Thompson cheated, right? Honestly, I don't think that's really the point. We don't even know if he cheated. We know what Meg Thee Stallion posted, right? She's been doing all the talking in this whole situation. Klay Thompson hasn't said anything. I don't think most people would even have known they broke up if it wasn't for the post. So that's Meg Thee Stallion right there. There are so many videos if you just want to go to see her twerking. If you just want to go to see her twerking, you can find mad videos, right? And, you know, it's interesting because, again, the thing about men, there's a duality. And I think that it's as old as forever, right? When you go to the comments, it's interesting, right? So these comments, this is from like 3 months. No, this is a 2 years ago video, but there's comments from recently. So this is why I love black women. Yeah, I gotta be, I can't read that. I watched this all day. Definitely putting a ring on her. This is what somebody put a comment on. And then it says, damn, I wish I was Klay today. This is somebody, man, obviously a guy saying that. You know, Klay Thompson is one lucky SOB. So these are the comments people are putting on there. And then this is her twerking on here. But the female rappers of today, they all have to show their whole life. And as they show their whole life, everything is about sex, and I'm showing all my body. There's nothing left to the imagination. So you have a lot of ingredients there. You have the ingredients of, one, people know Meg Thee Stallion's dating history. Two, you can Google Meg Thee Stallion. You could basically see her, and she's not a porn star, but you could basically see, you know, any man could pull up and see all the butt cheeks of this girl anytime they want to. So why does that matter, right? It matters because there's a duality with men. Men have a duality. We always have, right? And it's never going to change. This is the advice I would give my own daughter. Do men like what you would call hoes or hoe culture? Men like part of hoe culture, and then they also aren't going to marry hoe culture. They aren't going to marry it. And I think these are the conversations that we're having. It's uncomfortable because people don't want to offend nobody, or some people don't care if they offend women. I think that it's really about helping young girls to understand the reality. The reality is how you carry yourself is going to be conducive to your future relationship, right? So I think what's happening now is that it ain't just about Klay Thompson. You can go through Meg Thee Stallion's dating history. Most of the people she dated were rappers. I think there was a soccer player in the beginning, but there's plenty of rappers and singers who are in her dating history. Like I said, we all got a dating history. The problem is everybody knows about her dating history, and they can see everything she wears all the time. Now, female rappers, let me just go into that real quick. Now, female rappers, how they've evolved has been so crazy. Whether you like their lyrical ability is not even the point anymore. The question is, how much do female rappers show you? How much stripper activity? How much butt cheeks and titties can you see all the time with female rappers? Are they even rappers, right? Now, Meg Thee Stallion, for her credit, she's a pretty decent lyricist, right? But where did it all start, right? It's an interesting thing. It started with Lil Kim. Lil Kim was one of my favorite female rappers. And, you know, at the time when Lil Kim came out, I was much younger. You know, I was a teenager when Lil Kim came out. So, you know, I appreciated what Lil Kim did when she first came out, you know what I'm saying? Just as a young man. But what Lil Kim started, and again, I'm not blaming Lil Kim, but she was the beginning of this whole evolution of female rappers saying, F it, I'm going to say anything, I'm going to do anything. But the difference is with Lil Kim talked a lot of that stuff. The thing about it is that you didn't really see a lot of it because social media, you didn't see Lil Kim twerking and seeing her butt cheeks in any moment in time, you know, back then, because social media wasn't what it was. But it is the beginning of talking freaky on records, talking all the nastiest stuff, and it sells. Men and women alike like the music. There's an aspect, it's almost like porn on beat, right? And sex isn't an evil thing. Everybody likes sex. Everybody likes, whether they want to admit it or not, everybody likes sexiness, and sex sells. We all know that. But I think what's happened now, female rappers got more, they leaned more and more into their Lil Kimness, right? And again, I love Lil Kim, but they leaned so far in after Trina and all the other rappers that came after them. The rappers now like Meg Thee Stallion, there's so much that people can see. So what happens when you're an entertainer, when you're a female? What happens when you're a female in general and you show everything and people can see everything all the time on social media? The duality. Let's get back to duality of men. Men will play with you and have fun with you, right? There's always a category that men put you in. There's a category of women will sleep with, and then there's a category of women you want to spend your life with. And those two things, of course you want to sleep with the woman you're going to be with for the rest of your life. But I mean, the category of women who you look at is like they for the street type of thing. You're just not going to marry them. Look, I'll say this. If Klay cheated, obviously he should have just told her, look, I don't really want to be with you anymore, or I can't be faithful. And apparently maybe he said all this, I don't know. But this relationship represents a lesson, I think, more for women, in my opinion, because I think that a lot of the things that happened with Meg Thee Stallion publicly that people can see probably ate away at their relationship. That's what I think. We have to get away from this whole idea of a hot girl summer. And once men put you in that category of kind of like you're kind of for the street, you know, I know multiple guys that slept with you, and you know, a guy will still be with you, but there is something that a guy is going to hold back as far as fully giving himself to you. And again, these are generals. I'm not saying that it's not possible for women like that to get married, but there's always that duality, like I said. Now, again, even if you want to say, hey, why is it like that for black women or women of color and it's not like that for white women? Well, it actually is, right? If you take a look and you think about Marilyn Monroe, let's bring it to the white culture for a minute. Think about Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe, from all accounts, was the hot thing. She was the hot girl summer before all of y'all back in the 1950s and 60s. She was with Joe DiMaggio and all these different people, and most famously, President Kennedy. So why didn't John F. Kennedy marry Marilyn Monroe? He married Jackie Onassis, right? Because they're just two different lanes, right? For whatever reason in present day, we act like you're going to be able to be, you can't be Marilyn Monroe and Jackie Onassis. The two don't coexist. You know, if my wife, if I know mad people that slept with my wife and it's all out there and it's known, and I know about all her past partners, and anytime you want to Google and look at my wife damn near naked, you could Google it and any guy could see it. Yeah, people will say, listen, man, you shouldn't even deal with a woman like that, right? It's your fault as the man for even to deal with somebody like that. And you're going to have a guy, like I said, the guys that will entertain a woman like that, maybe even get in a relationship, but eventually that's going to be a problem. So for me, what I would say is that if it's my daughter, this is the advice you want to give women a little bit earlier. So with Meg Thee Stallion, for example, I think she could have made the same music that she wanted to make. I just think that two things I think she could have done. Don't make your relationships public. That's one. And don't get on Instagram doing this all the time. It ain't really needed for her to do this. Now, yeah, any random dude is going to love to look at you twerking in Uggs, right? Any random dude is going to love it. No question. But what it does for your future relationship, that's the question. Nobody's telling these young women like, yo, you know, we're in an age now, it's like everybody needs mad attention. And this is what's destroying, to me, it's destroying women more than men. Because men, at the end of the day, we're still going to marry the person we want to marry. You can call it right or wrong, and the men, it don't matter, and men should just be able to deal with whatever, and women's sexual freedom, and it's their right. Yes, it's not about what you can do. It's about what you should do. And if you don't care what men think, all bueno. Don't worry about it. If you're a young woman and you do at some point, want to be married, want to have a man honor you as his wife, you got to be careful of the footprint you put online, because a lot of the stuff you see about Meg Thee Stallion, it ain't really her music. You know what I'm saying? It's not really her music. I mean, Ice Spice the same. It's not her music so much. It's just, and Ice Spice really hasn't done a lot of craziness yet. You know what I'm saying? And hopefully she doesn't. When Meg got with Klay Thompson, I think you could look at it. Some people were saying, oh, he gained popularity from her and it was a move for. Nah, I don't think so. Klay Thompson was already, title winner, and he's got hundreds of millions of dollars before. It doesn't really matter one way or another. That's why he's not really talking about this situation. This is what's really happened, and the conversation about women that are all coming together and saying, hey, cheating is wrong. Yeah, cheating is wrong. Cheating is wrong. No question. Man or woman, cheating is wrong. It is going to happen many, many times when, one, you're put into a category that you don't need to be put in. We can have the conversation as to what female rappers should be saying. I don't think you can ever censor music, so this video isn't really about female rappers rapping about something different. They can do what they want. You're a grown woman. You want to talk about your WAP, your wet ape coochie all day, do that. I'm not mad. There's a place for it for somebody. But when art imitates or invades real life, this is the actual problem, right? There's real consequences to this. So what happens now, everybody's real sad for Meg Thee Stallion. It's unfortunate because she just left the Moulin Rouge play that she was in. She left it early. I don't know. We don't know why, but more than likely it was because she's, going through all this and all this stress. And, again, no one even knew about the breakup. You know what I'm saying? I don't even think it needed to be talked about. But again, if you put it out there, people are going to talk about it. A woman has to be careful of what she puts out there. That's what Felicia Rashad was trying to tell y'all. But you can't tell young women nothing these days because everybody knows it, but they don't want to say it, right? And there's this thing about, well, we're trying to decenter men and we don't care what men think. But the problem is you're always going to be subject to what men think if you're a woman that wants to be with the man. The same way if you're a man who wants to be with a woman, we are subject to what women think, right? It's not popular for a man to be broke. It's not popular for a man to be unemployed. It's not popular for a man to be an underachiever. And women let us know every single day. And it's part of being a man. We know this, right? Doesn't mean that you won't find a woman if you're unemployed or you're underemployed or you're a no achieving, video game playing, chip eating, sitting on the couch type of guy. Yeah, you might find a woman, but you probably won't find a good woman. And if you do find a good woman, she's not going to respect you. That's part of the game. The advice I would give my daughter is to say, listen, as you enter these years as a young woman, especially with social media, don't be on your Instagram with your tongue out and your ass out and all this stuff all the time, it's a footprint, and men judge you based on what you put out there. You can be sexy, but carry yourself with class. Men will still want you. Men are still going to try to court you and marry you. But the question is, what type of person do you want to approach you? Because what Meg Thee Stallion, what she painted herself into a corner. She painted herself into the hot girl, somebody you kind of have fun with, but you're not necessarily going to marry. That's the real conversation we're having here. Even initially with the Tory Lanez thing, a lot of people, was flaming her over the Tory Lanez situation because they're like, yo, she put Tory Lanez in jail. And initially she said she had never slept with Corey Lanez. She said she never slept with Tory Lanez. And then when she did that interview with Gayle.
Yes, bitch, I lied to Gayle King, bitch. First of all, I didn't know that bitch was even gonna ask me about that shit. Bitch, I always want to talk about this shooting. Why'd you ask me about fucking Tory? That's not what this is about. Even if I fucked this nigga like once. Maybe twice on a drunk night, but you kept catching me out of my fucking mind.
What are you going to tell your daughters? That's what it really come down to. When you listening to Glorilla, Meg Thee Stallion, Ice Spice, Cardi B, all of them make good music that, I've heard and listened to. They all have made some stuff that sounds good. I'm not going to sit here in front like all of their music is whack. It's a good bop. It's something to listen to. But at the end of the day, how much does that seep into real life? How do you really carry yourself? Music could be like acting. There are people, Robert De Niro has acted in many of my movies. He ain't walking around grabbing people in the headlock and putting guns in their mouth every day. He's an actor, and many people have made this whole argument about being a rapper. It's like acting, and it is. But what carries out into real life? And that's where I think that the females have to start thinking about, well, what are you putting online? Case in point, Cheyenne Bryant, Dr. Cheyenne Bryant. She's an interesting person. She's an example of somebody trying to toe the ladder of both things, right? Somebody who's intellectual, who's respected, and sexy. She's on Joe Budden's podcast, and she goes and she's talking about the fact that, she doesn't care how people necessarily, she's not going to be put into a box. That's her thing. I'm a doctor, I'm a therapist, and if I want to wear some sexy outfits, I have the right to, and people are not going to be able to put me in a box. I don't have to wear pantsuits and all that all day. Parks, who's on Joe Budden's podcast, had asked her a question about the fact that, well, what are you, the stuff that you're putting on the internet, these outfits you're putting on the internet, you obviously want that attention. You want that type of attention, right? And she kind of flipped it on him, which I thought was interesting. But all this stemmed also from Cheyenne Bryant being at Young Jeezy's event last year. Yeah, so she had on this outfit at the Young Jeezy event. And I mean, she was the talk of the event. Again, this is just for example, Cheyenne Bryant is 40 years old, grown woman. She can do what she wants. She's not married. But how people see you matters, right? This is what Felicia Rashad, aka Claire Huxtable, was trying to tell y'all. So Cheyenne Bryant, she's rocking this outfit, and she's basically bras and panties. You can kind of see everything in this sheer outfit. And what she was asked on Joe Budden's podcast was basically about, you don't want people to put you in a box, but you put videos like this on YouTube all the time. And she got it googly got, because I think she just wanted to move around the question of why does she post what she posts. Interesting interaction. The reason why I played it is that, this is a doctor who wants to be taken seriously, but I think that, and again, she's doing well. She has a book, and she's been on all these different podcasts and is doing well, making plenty of money, all good, right? So I'm not hating on her. I'm just saying that this is someone who I think she felt uncomfortable when Parks brought out the fact that, you're posting these videos, and if you don't want people to kind of look at you like on some stripper type of thing, then why are you going to wear a certain outfit and showing everything? You can be sexy, but you want that attention. And I think that's what it's come down to. Social media has made it where, women want so much attention, and the aspect of sexy and classy, the borderlines aren't really there anymore, right? And I think that going back to Meg Thee Stallion, I think this is what's happened as far as the reaction. The reaction that she's getting from most men online is really the reflection of, man, you put it out there, city girl, I sleep with whoever I want to, and men are disposable, and I'm just out here like a dude. I don't have no feelings, and I don't really care. And I don't think this is what women really are. I don't believe that's what women really are. So I wouldn't want my daughter to play that game with her imagery or her words, because what happens is that, it's just like as a man, if you like, yo, I'm a player, I don't care about women, I'm a player, women are disposable. Well, when you can't find a wife, or you can't find anybody to really build a life with, then you can't blame women, you got to blame yourself. And it's the same way if you're a woman. Like, it's important to dial into class. It's important to dial into the idea of, do I want to be, I wouldn't even say somebody's wife. I would just even say from the beginning, do I want, when I'm with, if you're a woman and you're with a man, do you want your man to be like, yo, I can walk into a room with her and feel respected, right? Because again, what happened with Marilyn Monroe? Just to dial it back before I close this video out. What happened with Marilyn Monroe? Marilyn Monroe was the guy everybody said all the white guys of the 50s and 60s wanted her, right? She was the guy that, she was the girl that was the hot girl, right? she wasn't like your lame wife, your lame everybody loved Marilyn Monroe. But what happened with Marilyn Monroe is that she ended up with different dudes, and she was known as the side chick. She was known as the fun girl. She was known as the hot girl. She wasn't known as the wife, right? So she died under some mysterious circumstances, and that ain't what this video is about, so I ain't gonna get into it. But she died basically on some drug alcohol type of situation, and Jacqueline Onassis died an old woman married to someone else, and no one was gonna marry Marilyn Monroe. They was sleeping with her. She was the side girl, but no one was gonna marry her. So you don't want to position yourself as a woman to be the hot girl. I don't think that's the way to move, right? Music wise, cool. Music, it is what it is, right? Again, I don't think we can change music, but I do think we have to make sure young women understand that when you following that blueprint and you got everything online that everybody can see, if you with a boyfriend or husband later on, it's going to cause you some issues, right? And I don't care whether we can argue whether it's right or wrong, and this whole concept about the gender wars and who's right and who's wrong. I think at the end of the day, you got to be able to carry yourself a certain way so you can say, you know, I got respect for myself, and I ain't out here playing myself, and everybody can't just Google me and, you know, see my butt cheeks anytime they want to. This is what this is the advice you want to give to your daughter, I think. So, you know, look, I'm not here to knock Meg the Stallion. Honestly, again, like I said, I don't think this relationship is really what people actually care about. I think people are projecting a lot of their own feelings into this into what this relationship represents, and they're trying to make it about, men don't appreciate a good woman and he cheated and all that stuff. But what this is really about, it's really about making sure that you carry yourself a certain way. That way, when that relationship ends, I'm talking about Meg now. When that relationship ends, people aren't going to bring up all the slutty behavior, right? all the slutty energy that she put out there. People wouldn't be able to bring it up if all of it wasn't out there. Even if her music said it, people wouldn't be able to bring up all this. This is the same thing that happened with Cardi B. When Cardi B and Offset broke up, it was the same conversation. The only difference is that Cardi B ran out and said, okay, my husband cheated on me. I'm going to find a new guy and I'm going to get him back. And all the women cheered it on. And a year and a half later, she has a baby by Stefan Diggs and is still not married to him. He didn't marry her. He treated her like a side girl. So all of it is just a recipe for unhappiness. And I would like to see young women happy, but young women have to get good advice. And good advice is really something that, if Meg the Stallion, I would say she should have spent some time rebranding herself a little bit. And maybe that's what she was trying to do. But I think that, unfortunately, your past always comes with you. It is what it is. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, hit that. This is Crucial Convo Podcast. It's your boy Kojo.